So happy to be here. Thank you, Santi, for reaching out. I'm super excited to share a little bit about the resources and services that we have for our students. My name is Desiree Hernandez. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the coordinator of the LGBTQ and the Undocumented Student Resource Center at Pasadena City College. And a little bit about me, I am a proud product of the community college system, graduating from Cerritos College with my associates in sociology, and then transferred to Cal State Long Beach and got my bachelor's in women's gender and sexuality studies. And most recently graduated with my master's in counseling.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Teddy, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teddy Perez. I'm from Los Angeles Valley College. I am about to transfer soon, hopefully. And what else? And I'm very glad that Santi reached out to me and be a part of this amazing opportunity to talk to y'all and just be here. So yay. Thank you, Santi.
Thank you. And then last but not least, Dean. Hi, Dean.
Hi, everyone. Hello, my name is Dean Steckman. My pronouns are he, him, his. I work at College of the Desert as the CalWorks Counselor Coordinator. I was recently hired in that role. And I just a little bit of educational background. I also went to community college later in life. So I'm a single parent with 2 kids. And I guess the purpose of me being here, the reason why Santi invited me is because I am trans. So I actually transitioned from female to male, and I did that at UCLA during my time at UCLA. And I was involved with CCCP, so I love the program. I love what they do, all the work that they do. And I always love like coming back and being able to speak to students and just, just serve the community. But started at Moreno Valley College, transferred to UCLA, got my bachelor's degree there. Then I went to Cal State Long Beach, got my master's in counseling. And now I work in the community college system, and I serve CalWorks students, which I was once a CalWorks student too. So I feel like, I'm giving back to that community as well. And the services that pretty much helped, grow me and lead me to where I am today. So I'm excited to be here and share my experience with you all. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for those introductions, and thank you for agreeing to be here today and to joining us and to sharing a little bit about your journey. I think it's so important to hear the lived experiences. That's, I think, the most important thing that I think we can share, our stories. And as I said at the beginning, I know the famous phrase right now is "you're muted," but today we are not muted at all. We are going to make sure that our voices are heard. So let's start with this question. If you and this is we're gonna start with Teddy. Teddy, if you can share a little bit about your journey from high school to community college.
So my journey from high school to community college was a pretty smooth one. High school was a little bit rough for me. It was very tough. I still am a shy person. So I was very isolated in high school. I also being different wasn't easy either. But once I graduated from high school and transitioned into college, it was more smooth for me. There were more opportunities for me to take classes that I liked, like sociology, especially, and human sexuality and gender studies, that kind of opened my eyes to the world and to understand myself and other communities. So transitioning was pretty easy for most part. It took me a while to find a family, like a community within community college. Those folks that identify as queer and also undocumented as well. But once I found that, I found a place at home. So from there on, it was pretty smooth, relaxing, and I found a family that supported me, pushed me, empowered me, and just, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Teddy. And I want, you already mentioned a little bit, Dean, that, your journey was a little different as well in terms of, just being a parenting student, a returning student. But how was that transition? At what point did you either came back to school? Did you go directly from high school to community college? How was it for you?
That story is super long, and I know we don't have that much time, but I will try to keep it as short as I can. I actually didn't know I can go to college after graduating high school. Like, if I didn't go straight from high school to college, I didn't know that it was possible after that, because I went to Marina Valley, Marina Valley High School, like I mentioned. I grew up in Marina Valley pretty much. And so at that school, there were not a lot of resources as far as connecting students to colleges. It was mainly we were getting recruited to the Army and different things like that. And so the people that, were usually the ones that the counselors took a liking to were the people that were our students that were doing well. And I was in and out of trouble. So I really was struggling, but I was able to graduate when I was supposed to graduate from high school, but I did not have that knowledge. And I'm first generation, so my parents didn't know either. So I was not surrounded by, higher education. So I didn't really know. As I mentioned, I'm a single parent with 2 kids. So I actually had my children at the age of 19 and like shortly after that. So I have a daughter who's 15 and my son is about to be 13. And so I kind of went that route, and I was working and just hustling and doing all these other things for 8 years. So after I graduated high school, it took me 8 years to go back to college. And like I mentioned, I didn't know. The only reason I found out was because I was working at Subway down the street from Moreno Valley College, and I would get a lot of regulars, and they were like counselors that would come in and they would talk with me. One of them in particular asked me, like, what are you doing with your life? And so, I said, well, this is it pretty much. Like, I have kids. I'm 26. At the time I was 26, and I don't know what else I can do. And he kind of like said, well, what about college? I'm like, well, that's not a possibility because I already graduated 8 years ago. And he pretty much just, related to my experience and said, what if I told you that I was 29 when I went to community college. I was also a single parent with 2 kids. And now I'm working as a counselor at the community college, and I'm able to, assist students with realizing the potential. And I don't feel like that's not work for me. Like, it's not a job. It's just something I love to do, but I get paid, $100,000 a year. So that obviously intrigued me. And not just the money portion, but just everything else. And he was like, if you're interested, come see me and I could lay it out for you. So I did go see him at Moreno Valley College a couple of weeks after that. And he pretty much laid it out for me. He just said, this is how much you're making working at Subway right now. I was working part-time, but they had me working six days a week. And then, which was nothing. I wasn't making anything. And I was still on welfare. Like I mentioned, I was CalWorks getting, Medi-Cal and food stamps and cash aid and all of that. And so then he also showed me what I would be making if I were to just quit my job at Subway and just pursue higher education, because I would be getting grants and scholarships, and I could get a job on campus as a work study student at the community college. And so I actually did that. And it was a lot more. I would be making a lot more, and I would be working towards my goal, of ultimately becoming a counselor, which I am now. So I quit my job at Subway and I pursued higher education. And then ever since then, that was in 2012, I went straight through my community college, then UCLA, then I got my master's. I'm going to go back to get my doctorate later, but right now I'm, in a full-time position, finally doing what I love to do. And so I'm going to just do that for a little bit. But I do plan on going back, but that's my story, like in a nutshell.
Thank you, Dean. And I know there's more to it. I know that we have chatted about it, and you have shared a lot of that. So, hopefully we'll get to hear some more of that as well. And hopefully or participants will also learn a little bit more about you in the future too. The next question I wanted to actually direct it to Desiree, because I think just hearing how accidental sometimes coming to community college is, right? It's not, sometimes we don't feel that there are programs that are intentionally for us, right? That intentionally addresses all of our different identities, while at the same time making us feel like transfer may be something that is doable for us. So Desiree, I know that you work at the Pasadena City College Quest Center. And so talk a little bit about that, and what does that do for our communities?
Hi, Santi, and hi, Dean. I am so glad to see you here. We worked at LACC together, so nice to always run into, former colleagues. But yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about the Quest Center. By the way, my virtual background is the actual center, so we have our pride flag front and center in the space. And the center actually took quite a long time to, finally come to campus. And there was a lot of advocacy, from the Safe Zone Coalition as well as faculty, staff, managers. And it took well over a decade for this center to actually be here, and we're actually just over a year old. But nonetheless, it really serves as a safe space for students to come, you know, meet with peers, meet with faculty and staff that are there to support them. And so some of the resources that we do have a weekly peer support group. We know that mental health is a big component in everyone's lives, but more so and especially now for our LGBTQ students. So we do have a weekly group that meets, and this is facilitated by LGBTQ professionals, counselors, psychologists, resource advocates, and furthermore, we've also institutionalized preferred name changes. A lot of students cannot afford, the whole court process and the legal name change and gender marker. And so at our school, we are able to change students' names for the purposes of, being called by that name, in the class and, in discussion posts on Canva, like for your peers to know what your name is, right? And so we have that, we're really proud of that. We are prioritizing the access to academic counseling because, there are definitely equity gaps, right? Where we're seeing our LGBTQ students are not transferring, at the high rates that we want them to, right? And so really making sure that we have that academic counseling component specifically for LGBTQ students is really important. And so we have that. Among other things, we know basic needs. We have emergency aid for students where we have been supporting students from anywhere from $250 to $1,000. And as well as career navigation as an LGBTQ individual, your rights throughout the hiring process, ethics, laws, how to deal with discrimination in the workplace. So that's just some of it. And we still have so much in the works, right? We're constantly asking our students for feedback because we really want to make the center for students by students. So that's just a little bit about it. And I'll hopefully, Santi, you can send my information to everyone here. Please feel free to reach me out. But if anything, you can just go to PCC Quest Center and you'll find our page there.
Thank you, Desiree. And we'll come back a little bit to this, but just kind of to give you the context on why we're doing this too. I mean, you address some of those different things. The three of you have addressed some of those things already, right? We do know that LGBTQ and particularly people of color, Black, Indigenous people of color, are pushed out of the educational system in the K-12 system. So we know there's a huge leak that takes place already early on. We do know that there's a lot of the school setting, high school settings where, just our presence is or safety is not even there, So I mean, to start off with, so we know already that those leaks exist. We know that the incarceration rate for LGBTQ individuals is high, particularly for our lesbian sisters. Is 33% of the women who are incarcerated right now self-identify as lesbian or bisexual. So that's a huge number. I mean, that's a huge number of incarceration for sisters. And then we also know that once the students transfer to a community college, those will self-identify as LGBTQ in the California community college system. 70% of those students are students of color. So that's also a very huge number. So when you add all these levels, right? This is important work that you're all doing. This is important what we need to do, continue to do, and push forward as well. So Teddy, I wanted to ask you, what did you find at the community college that spoke to you about your identity as a QT BIPOC?
For me, what spoke to me was just having the opportunities to take classes that kind of spoke to me and my identity. Like I said before, I took human sexuality and gender studies. I took other classes like Chicanos. I took just all these classes that kind of opened my mind to just different identities and stuff. And that kind of what helped me out a lot during community college, just finding teachers that I could identify with, finding those classes, just them talking about just issues that was going on, especially with gender identity, um, was something that I struggled at the end of high school, and just coming into community college helped a lot, just to realize of who I am as a person right now. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So kind of going back to, I think, what Dean was sharing in terms of, not going to community college directly, or not thinking about the transfer process to begin with. What would you think a program that intentionally address those different identities, all those intersecting identities, would have done for you? Or what is it doing? Are there programs at your campus that that support you now as a staff person as well?
That's for me, right?
Yes, Justin.
Okay. So my experience at the community college, I actually, like, Moreno Valley College at the time did not have like an LGBT center or anything like that. And a lot of the community colleges don't. I think that a lot are starting to have them, and College of the Desert just barely opened one up. So it's like really new, but I feel like it would have helped me a lot because I mean, I've always struggled with my identity, even as a young person. But I didn't know what the name was for it, because when I grew up, I mean, I was born in '86, but when I grew up, I wasn't surrounded by that. Like, now trans is a thing, like, and we're more like visible in the community. But I didn't know about the name until I actually got to UCLA, and that's because at the community college level, at least the community college I went to, we didn't have classes like that. So when I transferred to UCLA, I transferred as a psychology major, but I also double majored in gender studies. And it was really when I started taking classes in gender studies where I started learning about the different types of identities. And that was where I kind of, like, when I learned about trans identity, I was like, that's me. And it took me a whole year when I was at UCLA to decide to transfer, but UCLA is the greatest place for that. Like, I really felt so safe transitioning there. And I was hooked up with CCCP, and I actually, like, just barely started my transition from female to male when I got hired with CCCP as a peer mentor, and they were super respective of my my pronouns and all that, even though I just was transitioning. So it was a little rough in the beginning, but I got through it. Like, I got everything I needed to get done at UCLA. So they're so good with all of their resources for LGBT community. But going back to the community colleges, like, there's lacking in a lot of the community colleges where that is not, it's not there. And I feel like, it could sometimes people who identify or belong to the LGBT community, they may not pursue higher education because the resources aren't at the community college level. So maybe they won't even get to the university where there are more resources at the university level. So we really need to do more work in that. But going back to College of the Desert, I'm actually trying to be more visible. And I'm not like out, but I will be now. Because, and I shared this in the breakout room, I wasn't out because I can live in stealth, and I have been living in stealth because I am, like, I have, I'm grateful that I'm able to pass as male. And I have been pretty much, like, since I transitioned 4 years ago. And so I've been living in stealth because I was afraid of not getting certain opportunities, because I shared that I recently graduated with my master's, and my goal was to be a counselor. And I do have a full-time position, and now I have that platform. But before that, I didn't know if I was safe to disclose. And so I didn't disclose to people about my trans identity, but I do want to be more visible now so I can, help those that are coming along and just share my experiences and, be able to serve in that way. So I am trying to be more involved with the LGBT center that we have at College of the Desert. But like I said, it just started, like, they're just offering services this spring. So What I know that they're going to be offering is academic counseling, like Desiree mentioned, that they offer at PCC, which is huge. And I'm actually going to try to, do some reassigned time and serving that role, because I think it's important for students who identify as LGBT that they are able to see themselves in whoever they're being helped by. So for me, if I'm visible and I'm out, I can tell, my experience, they'll feel more comfortable building that rapport and being able to share their experiences with me than they would with anyone else who can't identify or relate to their experiences. And so that's something that I'm trying to do. And I think that that is important. That's something that all community colleges to have some type of consultant or somebody who belongs to the LGBT community who is represented in that space and be able to help the students, transfer, if that is their goal, to transfer to the university and connect them with resources, both at the community college level and community, as well as the university level.
Thank you, Dean. And wow, you make me so happy. I'm so happy. Okay, so and just kind of following up with that, and the last question that I'll ask, and we'll have a little bit of time for our participants to ask maybe a few questions. But just the last question, Desiree, for you. What do you wish for that was available at PCC? So we have a Pride Center at Pasadena City College, and the Quest Center, which shares both the Pride and the Dream Center. What do you wish for that will support you to continue to do this work?
Above all, we're always going to be striving to continue growing, right? And so as far as our center staff goes, right, we ensure that the staff that are working in the center are educated in, a variety of things that pertain to our students and are welcoming. The issue we've been having, right, is that we're trying to make that same feeling across campus as a whole, right? And we don't want to have students, coming to us sharing, a traumatic experience they had in the classroom because their professor refuses to call them by their pronouns or by their name, right? And so my wish really is for our students to feel not just safe. Safe is the bare minimum, it's really to go beyond that and feel empowered, throughout the campus, in every single department they come across, every single course they're taking, every counseling meeting that they have at the community college. Like, that is my wish for the campus, as a whole, to welcome our students, empower them, unconditionally. So
thank you. No, and so important work, right? Again, I just what the data tells us at this point is that at the UC level, you have Pride centers in 8 out of 9 campuses. So only one campus doesn't have an actual Pride, full Pride center. That campus has both Pride and it's a shared research center. And then the Cal States, more than half of them have a Pride center, right? But at the community college at this point is looking like a Pride center or a research center that includes LGBTQ individuals as well is hovering around 12%, right? About 12% of the 150. So the largest educational system where students of color go, where we have a huge number of LGBTQ folks also go, has the least resources at this point available for students. So that's something that obviously requires us to work together, right? To work together as educational institutions, to work together as stakeholders, and to work together as students. The students have, you students, participants have so much power on that as well too. And so I do want to make sure that you also understand the power that you have. So, and now the power that you have is to ask any question that you may want to ask us of our 3 panelists. I think we have a little bit of time to ask those questions. So I definitely want to hear at least 1 or 2 questions, and you can put them in the chat if you like to. You can unmute yourself if you want to. That's perfectly fine. We're in family here, so you know how we all do it. We just like talk over each other, and that's totally cool. We can do that as well. But yeah, let's hear what kind of questions do you have for these folks who are right now sharing a little bit of that information as well.
Hello, Desiree. I was wondering if the resources for changing your name, is that being offered in just one location or more colleges offer that?
I do know a few community colleges that do offer that service as well. So we have been seeing a lot of community colleges, implementing that, institutionalizing it. So I would definitely check in right with your campus, and if it's not available, this is where that advocacy component comes in, right? So yeah.
Thank you.
And sorry, real quick, just to add on, we support our students as well as referring them to obtain legal guidance for the legal name change process. There is a fee waiver, that depending on your eligibility, you may be able to get. So, you can always go the legal name change route if you wish. And with that legal name change, the admissions and records is obligated, right, to update your records.